Hello and welcome to Charlie's Desk. It's been a long time since I made my last video, so I'm trying to get started up again. And on the desk today, we have a little artifact, a scrap of paper that's about 3 by 5 inches. That was probably printed in the 1870s in a linear type that has its origin in the United States. In Pennsylvania, it's called Pennsylvania Line. It was created by this guy named Napoleon Bonaparte Kneass Jr. The last name is spelled Kneass, just assuming you can look up Napoleon Bonaparte on your own. There's not the hugest amount of information on this guy, but he was dissatisfied with the linear tactile fonts available in the United States at that time. And so he made his own print shop, really. He was the son of a sort of a mogul of leather goods for horses and carriages and stuff. And that was, big business back in the day. And so he had a lot of disposable income, and he built what was, at the time, one of the largest print shops for embossed materials for blind readers. And so this little scrap of card, which I'll read in 1 second, is interesting because, most of the stuff that's preserved of linear fonts is, Bibles and things that, didn't really get touched. I went to this event at the Bibliographic Society of America that's sponsored at this Femme Library at William & Mary, and it was really cool to get to talk with a bunch of other people who are interested in tactile linear fonts. And this little piece stood out because it's just a scrap of paper. It says, Pennsylvania Institution for the Blind, Store number 7, South 8th Street, Bell Market. Brushes, doormats, carpets, brooms, and fancy beadwork for sale. NB carpet, woven to order. Exhibition on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So it's just a little advertisement for the store that sold the goods that people at the time were making at the school, and I think it catered to all ages really at that point, and people were trying to give people jobs and whatnot, and so people made brushes and doormats and carpets, sort of handwork like weaving, and brooms and fancy beadwork. I don't know what NB carpet is, but it was woven to order. And it's cool to think that this store number 7, which presumably means they had a bunch of them scattered around, and it was open on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So I love this little artifact because it just speaks to, I don't know, what things were like in a different way than from a Bible that, was kind of kept out of the hands of folks. So, it wouldn't be sort of destroyed over time, or whether those were things that were sort of gifted to other institutions, as maybe a part of fundraising. Look, we printed this. Check out how good we are. So before I go on too far, just to dive into some of the differences with this linear font here, right? So that's just a tactile writing that, instead of being a dot code, it's literally just kind of an imitation of just regular Roman text. And you can see kind of stripes behind the writing because they snapped together all the letters into a plate, and then they ran that through the printer. And they had different techniques for using hot paper, damp paper, to put a lot of force over the mold and the paper, and to create an embossed text that was raised. seems pretty hard to read to me. I would love for folks to check it out and compare sometimes the relative readability of Philadelphia line versus Boston line type or anything like that. And yeah, so this particular example, it's all numbers and capital letters. There's only one seemingly lowercase o in the number 7. It looks like there's 2 different sizes of font. Like it looks like there's a 14-point font and a 10-point font. So that would mean in the print shop, they would have had to have alphabets of all those different sizes to put together text. So that's this little example. I'll just read it again. It says, Pennsylvania Institution for the Blind, store number 7, South 8th Street, Bell Market, brushes, doormats, carpets, brooms, and fancy beadwork for sale. NB carpet, woven to order. Exhibition on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. All capital letters. One thing that is cool about Philadelphia line is that he did have lowercase letters in a sort of a more interesting way than Boston line type had, at least initially. I have one other thing that is an example of Philadelphia line. I have a close-up on the camera of it. This is something that was produced for the World's Fair in 1876. This is something that was produced for the World's Fair in 1876. And it says printed at Machinery Hall, U.S. Centennial Exhibition. And then on the other side of it, I'll have to bring it into frame. It says N.B. Kneass Jr., publisher for the blind, Philadelphia, PA. And this one is dated 1876. We know that because it was part of the centennial exhibition of the U.S. That's not a World's Fair, that's different. But 20-something years later, the Hall Braille Writer is debuted at the World's Fair, and it's actually a little less than 20 years, but almost 20 years later, the Hall Braille Writer is introduced, which basically ended the idea that a linear text was a good idea or something easy to read for blind people, people who are blind, people who read Braille, whatever you want to say. All right, yeah, so that's my little Charlie's Desk contribution for the day. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if there's anything you're interested in or any questions. I got a couple different braillers that I have and Braille writers and embossing type machines that I'll be excited to share about. They're pretty cool. I'll describe them as best I can. And yeah, have a great afternoon or whatever time it is when you watch this video. All right, take care. Bye.